Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Warm welcomes, fifth graders all around the world. I am Mr. Hamd Al Ahmed from Risala International School, and today we have a new selection. I've sent you two videos to listen to the story, and it was supposed that you listen to them at least one time. Now, after you listen to the story, it's time for explanation. First, we start with the genre, and as you see, the genre is historical fiction. Historical fiction, by the word historical, we know that this story talks about a specific era of history. So, it talks about a specific time in history, and the word fiction means a story, so this story is a piece of history. And actually, the story talks about the date of 1930s in United States. The title says, The Day the Raleighs Got Their Moxie Back. The Day the Raleighs Got Their Moxie Back. By the title, we'll get many practical information about the story before we even read it. Now, number one, the day the Raleighs. The Raleighs is the name of the family we'll be talking about. And here they said that they got their moxie back. Now, actually, the word moxie means like strength or power or courage. So they lack something at the beginning of the story. They missed something, but they will have it back. They will get it back at the end of it. Hereby, the picture in front of us, if I asked what do you see in the picture, you will say that I see two girls, and they are likely to be sisters. They are reading a message with excitement. Now, I want you to scratch your head and ask yourself a question. Who sent this message, and what does it talk about? And why they feel that happy when they are reading the message. So only by this page we got a lot of useful information about the story. Number one, that it's a piece of history. It talks about the era of 1930s in the United States, and it talks about a family. They lack something, then they got it back at the end. They lack their power, they lack their strength, they lack their knowledge, they lack their jobs, then they get it back at the end of the story. So let's get the ball rolling and start reading the story. Here we are. And before we start reading, I may ask you to have your pencils, highlighters, and books in front of you, because we'll underline some sentences, some words, and we'll give the meaning, so you may write them down to have a study source before the test, inshallah. So, sometimes the thing that gets you through hard times comes like a bolt from the blue. Here we have a very amazing expression which says, hard times comes like a bolt from the blue. Like a bolt from the blue means they come suddenly. They come out of the blue, means they come suddenly. Then he said, that's what my older brother's letter was like. So, here we know that this letter or message was sent by their older brother. I mean the two girls who were reading the letter or the message. It was sent to them by their older brother. And in this message, he's saying that the things happened to his life and affected it negatively. They come like a bolt from the blue, means they come suddenly. That is what my older brother's letter was like. Traveling across the country from a work camp in Wyoming. And this means that their brother was traveling from a city to another within the country, and now he works in a camp in Wyoming. It was 1937. As we said, the whole story talks about the era of 1930s. and Reki, and here is the name of the one who sent the message. Their brother called what? Called Reki. You may circle his name. So they said, and Reki was helping to build facilities for a new state park as part of President Roosevelt's employment program. So the president of that time, he had an employment program and he provided some work opportunities to people in the United States. One of them was Reki. So this is a good thing for Reki that he has a job during that time when most of people around United States were without jobs. They suffer unemployment. So and Reki was helping to build facilities for a new state park as part of a President Roosevelt's employment program. Though the program created jobs for young men like Reki, it hadn't helped our dad find work yet. So, this can be the conflict of the story. Reki has a job as a young man, but still his dad couldn't have a job yet. And this is a big problem when the father of the family doesn't have a work. So you may underline this, which says the program created jobs for young men like Reki. It hadn't helped our dad find work yet. And this can be, as we said, the conflict of the story. I imagined Reki looking up at snow-capped mountains and sparkling skies, breathing in the smell of evergreens as his work crew turned trees into lumber and lumber into buildings. Here, the girl is talking about her brother, and she said, I imagine that he's looking now at the mountains covered with snow, and he's happy how his work is changing the trees into lumber. And lumber is the wood used for building houses. Then the lumber into buildings and houses. It almost made an 11-year-old weakling like me. And as we explained in vocabulary, weakling means weak. So it almost made an 11-year-old weak like me want to be a lumberjack. Lumberjack means like lumberman, the one who works in cutting and delivering trees and changing them into lumber to build new houses. Back in our New York City apartment. And here, if you were asked about the setting of the story, regarding the time, you have it up. Here is the time. We said the whole story happened during the 1930s. And here is the place, which is New York City. So, back in our New York City apartment. So they are living in an apartment. The air smelled like meatloaf and cabbage. So in their apartment, the air smelled like meatloaf and cabbage. And it means that their mom cooked meatloaf and cabbage. Meatloaf is the meat when it's like cut into very small pieces. And the cabbage is the vegetable that has very flat leaves to be stuffed with meat sometimes or something else. So this was the smell of the air in their apartment. Then she turned the camera to her dad and she said, Dad sat slantwise, means he sat in a way, gives you a big prediction that he's not that happy. He's worried, he's afraid of not finding a job. So Dad sat slantwise, means at an angle in his chair by the window. He was sitting by the window. Obviously means clearly trying to catch the last rays of sunlight rather than turn on a light. Look at this sentence, how amazing it is. She says that her dad is sitting at the window and he's trying to catch the last rays of sunlight rather than turn on light. Means he wants to invest every second of sunlight and he doesn't want to open the light because this will increase the electricity bill and he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a salary right now to pay for his bills. That is why he wants to invest and make use of the natural resources and not to use electricity. My older sister Ruth and I lay on the floor comparing the letters Ricky had sent us. So here we have the second character of the story, which is the dad, and we have the third, which is her sister Ruth, and they were looking at the letters and comparing them. Means that their brother Ricky has sent them many letters. One of these letters says, Shirley, Ricky says they had a talent show. So now she is talking to her sister Shirley and says, Ricky says they had a talent show. Ricky had a talent show and he wore a grass skirt and did a hula dance while playing the ukulele. Ruth reported with delight. She said this with happiness. I'll bet he was the cat's pajamas. She said, I can guarantee that he was the cat's pajamas. Means he played a role of a character called the cat's pajamas. These details are not that important actually, but they are talking about the details they were talking about and how they respond to the problem. It'd be swell to have our own talent show, I replied. She said, it's great. It's swell. It'd be swell means it will be great to have our own talent show. Means if we made our own talent show. Should I start sewing grass skirts? The mom said. Mom asked from the kitchen, which was just the corner. Here they are talking about the kitchen and they gave a very important information about their life and about their financial level. They said their kitchen was just the corner where someone had plopped down a stove next to a sink and an ice box. So their kitchen is very small. It's not luxury. They doesn't have a lot of equipments. All what they have there in their kitchen, they have the stove and they have a sink and they have an ice box. Now come set the table. Mom said, now come and set the table. Dinner is almost ready. Dinner is ready. Let's set the table and sit to have our dinner. And there will be a family conversation on the dinner table and it will give many interesting information about this story, so stay with us. Here we are. And before we start reading, you may look at the picture. Here they are sitting on their dinner table. Their dad is looking at the other side. He's not sharing their speech and he lost his appetite. And it seems that he has a problem. Any one of you can tell what was his problem, and one who doesn't know, you'll find it obviously here in the passage. Dad stayed where he was, sullen and spent, means he was sad, and he said nothing. Any jobs in the paper? Mom asked. Now Mom is sharing the same worries. That is why she asked. Any jobs in the paper means in the new paper, Mom asked. Her voice, rich with sympathy, means that she shares his sadness and sorrow. Dad shook his head. No, means he nodded that there is nothing. He had worked as an artist in the theater for years. Here she's telling that when her dad didn't find a job, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have any skill. He didn't work before. He's uneducated. But it means that this is something out of his hand because what happened to the country during that time. So he had worked as an artist in the theater for years, but most productions were still trapped for cash. Means that he made many great productions, but till now they weren't sold. Dad sketched posters for shows that did get the green light, and at the same, he sketched many posters and they get the green light just to keep his skills sharp. He doesn't want to lose his skills. He even designed posters for Raleigh Follies with Ruth and me depicted in watercolor costume. So he prepared these great jobs just to keep his skill sharp. For dinner, Mom served a baked loaf of whatever ingredients she had that worked well together. So their food is very simple. They eat whatever ingredients they have. From the reddish color, means from the reddish color, the food was red. I could grant that she had snuck in beets. I guarantee you'll like these beets. Now, the mom is talking to her sisters and she's saying, I guarantee means I am sure that you will like this food. She said, reading my frown. So, since they used to eat the same food, one of the sisters frowned when she saw that this is the usual food. But mom tried to erase or delete this frown on her face and she said, I guarantee that you will like the beets. It's beets loaf, the meatless meatloaf, she sang as she served up slices. So she was telling about the food and singing at the same time just to erase the frown on her daughter's face. It's beets loaf, the meatless meatloaf, she sang as she served up slices. Ruth fidgeted in her seat, still excited about the talent show. Though calm on the outside, inside I was all a twitter too. Over the next week, Ruth and I practiced our Hawaiian dance routine. Our parents worried about heating bills as cold weather settled in. So, as we see here, the parents both are worried about the bills because the dad doesn't have a job, he doesn't have money to provide all what they need. One Saturday, my father decided to grin in and bear it. Means he decided to join us in that thing and do it. And grabbed some hot coffee at the local soup kitchen, where he hoped to hear about available jobs. So he prepared some hot coffee and he went with his girls, and I think the whole family, to the local soup kitchen, and he hopes that he will hear something about new jobs or available jobs. Ruth and I begged, means asked, begged to go along. Since the kitchen offered donuts and hot chocolate on weekends, he agreed. So they asked him to go with them because the kitchen offered donuts and hot chocolate on the weekends, and he agreed to take them with him.